Will Isagi break Chigiri's leg? Will Nagi play in the U20 World Cup? And will Hiori become the best playmaker in the story? That's just some of the hot takes that I will be answering, as today I'm back with yet another video reacting to your hot takes and theories. And trust me, there are some really good ones that I'm really looking forward to discussing. With that out of the way, there's not much more I want to say. Just be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. And let's get into it with the first hot take, which says that Sendou will play a bigger role in the U20 Cup. Now firstly, I somewhat agree with this. I feel like he has his place and that he's deserved his place on the team. We also saw his special training, which was somewhat strange, as he was holding a rifle while lying in the grass. That will most likely lead to him developing predator eyes or something like that. But the problem with that is that even if he develops predator eyes, for example, there are already quite a few that have them on the team, which doesn't make him special. The Blue Lock team already has so many insane strikers: Baru, Rin, Bachira, and Isagi, just to name a few. And I guess that's the byproduct of making a program only with strikers. Anyway, with that said, I just don't really see how Sendou will fit into the team. I do think that Ego will switch up his formations for every match, firstly because that's just a good thing to do, and I feel like if we had the same team all of the time, then it would get boring quick. So Sendou will for sure get his chance and will probably do something major like score one goal. However, I do feel like that's where it ends for him. I don't see him scoring any clutch goals or really important ones, and honestly, I kind of just see him being there for the sake of it. The next one says that Yukimiya's eyesight is cooked in the next arc. Now this one I'm split on. We saw in the Neo Egoist League that Ego said that there was a team which was willing to try and treat Yukimiya's eyesight, and I do think that he will take that very generous offer, but all of that comes after the U20 World Cup, so it's a bit dangerous for him right now. I do definitely see him struggling with his vision during some kind of really important stage of the match. For example, if Blue Lock is against another team, and they are even, let's say that Blue Lock 11 are on the attack, and Yukimiya is the one leading it, then I for sure see him messing up with his vision, or just falling down to the ground during a very vital part of the game, making him being subbed out of the game and probably having to sit out for the entire U20 World Cup arc. Honestly, I would be kind of sad to see that happening, as that would be so tragic, but also there will be some tragic moments happening, so I guess it's just a question of when rather than if. However, with that said, I don't see him going completely blind and being unable to play football forever, as I see him having to sit out the U20 World Cup. But then, as they get transferred to their clubs, I see him getting treatment for his vision and then being free from his horrible eyesight. So in the end, I feel like he will be fine, but I know for a fact that something tragic will happen before that. The one after that says that Sei was holding back the entire U20 game, even versus Destroyer Mode Rin, because he saw everyone, including his own team, as being overwhelmingly beneath his skill level. Rin was able to stop Sei's last play. Now I feel like I talk about this hot take in every video, but I just can't help myself, so let's get into it. Now yes, there's no way I will ever accept someone who says that Sei played at his full strength during that game. That's also the reason why we have no idea how truly good he is, as he has never gone all out. If Sei played at full strength, then the Blue Lock 11 would have been completely obliterated, no question about it. Like, even with Shido on the field, Sei played nowhere near what he could have done, and then towards the end, that wasn't his best either, because if that was, then there's no way that Rin would have stopped that play. What happened was mostly like that Rin just suddenly evolved, and Sei hadn't accounted for that, so he was still taking it chill before he realized that Rin was actually crazy, and he had to try a bit. However, the shock from everything made Sei unfocused, which is why Sei lost the play in the end. But yeah, we have seen nowhere near what Sei is actually capable of. The next one kind of ties into this one, and it says that Hiori will be the best playmaker eventually. Now I don't think that will happen. Now Hiori's rate of growth has been insane, as he pretty much just played 1.5 games in the Neo Egoist League and right away became one of the best playmakers, if not the best, out of the 23. However, I never see him dethroning Sei. Now bear in mind that I just love Sei, so I don't know if I'm crazy biased. However, I feel like for Japan, Sei will always be the best playmaker. It just makes sense for him always to be the best, as I believe that his role in the story will just grow bigger and bigger. Also on the topic of playmakers, if we aren't only talking about Japanese players, then I feel like Charles has more potential than Hiori does, which makes it into 2 players, which I don't think that Hiori will be better than. Also, depending on which route Ryo decides to go with his new task. If he either tries to become a striker, or if he goes the playmaker route, then I also see Ryo becoming better than Hiori. Don't get me wrong though, Hiori is an insane player and deserves all of the praise that he's been getting. It's just that I don't see him ever becoming the best. The next one says that Ryo will be a captain of the Japan U20 team. He just lost Nagi, got training to get knowledge about every player in this team, and also he's got a lot of motivation. Now, having Ryo as a captain isn't something that I hate. However, it's also something I don't think will ever happen. Firstly, in the training chapter, we saw that Aiku was studying, and when we got the official chapter, we could clearly see that it was books about captain things, which I think pretty certainly indicates that Aiku will be the captain of the Japan U20 arc. Now, even if Aiku wasn't going to be the captain, then I think that there are two other players who would make a better captain than Ryo. Firstly, it's of course Karasu. Karasu would be an insane captain, and I might even say that he would be the best one based on his analytical personality. But we also have Isagi. Now, Isagi doesn't have any qualities that would really make him into the best fit, but he's always been kind of the poster boy for Japan when it comes to the U20 World Cup, as he firstly announced that he would win it after the U20 game, but also recently in the press conference chapter. And since the U20 World Cup is located in Japan, I do think that having Isagi as a captain wouldn't be a bad choice at all. The next one says that Rin and Isagi might become a part of the next new Gen 11 players by the end of the U20, since they will probably be insanely good, way better than they are now. Now firstly, I will say that I believe that they will for sure be qualified enough for that title, as we already saw in the Neo Egoist League that they had the strength to be labeled as one. I do think that it goes for a lot of other characters as well, like Baru for example. And also if Ryo has an insane U20 World Cup, then I feel like he could be one as well, and also Bachira. However, I just don't know if the new Gen 11 will ever be changed, if you get what I mean. There might become a new name after the U20 World Cup. However, I feel like the 11 players who are the new Gen 11 will always be the same. It's like when someone speaks of the big three of anime, like there are already 3 animes that are considered the big 3, and they can't be changed. Hopefully that analogy makes sense. However, with that said, I do think that there could be something new after the U20 World Cup, like, for example, the new Gen 11. Not that name, obviously. Hopefully you get my point. But yeah, I do feel like Isagi and Rin will for sure be on that level, and even way above some of the new Gen 11. The next one says that Ray Dark will bring Nagi back to the world stage eventually. Now, I made a video covering what I think will happen to Nagi a little while ago, which you should definitely check out. Anyway, there I said that there might be a possibility for Ray Dark to bring back Nagi. However, I do feel like that only applies if Nagi were to come to the U20 World Cup, which I don't think will happen, because after the U20 World Cup, I feel like Nagi will just join the club that bid on him in the Neo Egoist League, and from there, he will get his power up and become an insane monster and make his comeback. As I feel like after the U20 World Cup, we will get some sort of club arc where he will get reintroduced into the story. I know for a fact that Ray Dark will do something crazy in the story, and for the longest time I have thought that it would relate to Nagi, but recently I'm not so sure. I do think that it's not enough, if that makes sense. I really do feel like when Ray Dark makes his appearance in the story again, he will do something so mind-blowing that it will change the whole story of Blue Lock, and just adding Nagi back into the mix wouldn't really make that enough, if you ask me. So I'm not too sure what he will do, but when he makes his move, it will shake up everything, and I can't wait for it. The next one says that Isagi will somehow break Chigiri's leg to snatch a goal for himself or something. The author once asked if they, as a community, will still love Isagi in the future, which means that he will turn evil. Now, firstly, the author asking that doesn't guarantee that Isagi will turn evil. Now, it heavily implies that it might happen, and it's something that I for sure can see happening. However, not to this extent. Isagi breaking Chigiri's leg purely for a goal isn't something that I can see ever being realistic. I do for sure see him going against his team at times, but not ever so hard that he will accidentally or on purpose somehow injure them. Also, even though Isagi can be this demon king and slur Sagi, as some people like to call him, even if that's his personality sometimes, I feel like if he were to ever cause someone's soccer career to end by himself, I don't mean pity like what happened with Naruhaya, that he didn't get chosen, but I mean if Isagi were to somehow, by himself, end someone's career, then I see him honestly breaking down, especially if it's someone as Chigiri. He can be this cold-hearted player sometimes, but if he ever does something like that, I don't think that he will continue to be like that, and that he would start to break down and blame himself. Now with that said, I do hope that Isagi becomes a bit more evil at times, but I never see him becoming that against his own team. Maybe against another team, but not his own. However, that's honestly a very interesting comment, so if you could please let me know what you think about it down in the comments. Now, while we are still on the topic of the GOAT of Blue Lock, Chigiri, why not take this one as well, which says that for the U20 World Cup, Chigiri will either get fouled and his leg will snap due to the foul, or he will land on his leg, causing his leg to snap again. Now this is something which I believe is much more possible to happen to the GOAT Chigiri in the U20 match. In a perfect world, Chigiri would be fine, and we wouldn't have to worry about this. However, as we continue to see him struggling with his legs at times, I do feel like something like this is bound to happen. I feel like, for the U20 World Cup, either Chigiri will take the hit, or Yukimiya will. Now if I had to pick out of the two of them, then I would of course pick Yukimiya. However, something is telling me that it's probably going to be Chigiri. I don't remember much of the Munchen City match. However, I don't remember Chigiri having any problem with his leg in that game, so it might have gotten a bit better as he's been trained by Chris Prince, but it's also not an injury which just goes away with time. And with the intensity of the U20 World Cup, I do believe that Chigiri might end up taking on more than he can, and maybe end up injured. But if that happens, then it will be a sad day for real. The next one says that Hajime Nishioka will come back as the Lionel Messi of Blue Lock. Now you guys know how much I love Nishioka, and I would like to claim to be the #1 Nishioka defender, so I just had to talk about this. Now you can say with 99% certainty that Nishioka is just done in the story of Blue Lock. However, something is telling me that his journey won't end here, and that he has more to show, like him making a comeback, and shocking everyone would be so cool as no one has pretty much either played with him or against him due to him being injured all of the time. So with a little time skip into the future, where we see that he's gotten better, and like the comment said, play like Lionel Messi, that would be so cool. We pretty much need a Messi player in the story, so why not just use the one who's called the Aomori's Messi? Anyway, I will always continue to be delusional and wishing for a Nishioka comeback. I even want to make a whole dedicated video to him, I just need to find the time for that. The next one says that Kira Ryosuke would return as a player from the dual nationality theory and play for Spain, as they are considered to be the finalist and would play an important role in the final. Now, not to self-promote too much, I just want to say that I have a video where I go over what I think will happen to Kira if you want a deeper dive into it. Anyway, I do feel like Kira returning is a big possibility, but that also depends on if Nagi returns to the U20 World Cup or not. If Nagi comes back, then I don't think that Kira will, and vice versa of course. However, with that said, I really don't think that Nagi will come back in time for the U20 World Cup, which is why I do feel like this could be the perfect time to get Kira into the mix again. I would love for Kira to come back, as we never really got to see the full potential, or even how good he really is at football. He just got eliminated right away. I don't even care if he goes against the Blue Lock psychology like he first did, or if he embraces it after he got eliminated and we got to see how selfish and stuck up he was. Just getting him back into the story would get me hyped, as I think that he would mix it up and get a bit more interesting between him and Isagi. Isagi will have a ton of rivalries in the U20 World Cup, but bringing Kira back will just add another amazing rival to Isagi and even Bachira, as it was the two of them that got Kira out in the beginning. Now to end the video, I thought that I would talk about a fun one, and it says that Corona has the coolest designed character. Now in Blue Lock, I'm not gonna lie, but there are a ton of characters with really cool designs. Just to name a few, we have Aiku, who I really like as he has his cool double eye colors. Also Himizu and Saramadara are some that I really like as they just look cool. Now I would say that I prefer Corona's design to all of them, and that Corona actually has the coolest design. That would be if there wasn't one character that has such a cool design that the author knew that if he used him then he would be the favorite in the entire manga, and that's Akira. Akira looks so insanely cool with his star eyes, and I can't understand why the author didn't do anything with this man. Like he could be one of the most popular characters by far. However, if we are only counting main characters, then Corona for sure takes the win. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel. And while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye.